eyes of Europe? Is it because they are different? Because they're not human? I don't want to sensationalize this. I don't want to sound stupid. I don't want to embarrass you. Is it because they're genetically different to us?
I think that is exactly why. I think that they know what we don't know. They know that they are not actually human. And there was on the Tonight Show with Jay Leno a couple of years ago. There was a television show called, what was it? It was the what was the name of the TV show that was interviewing Prince Charles? It was 60 Minutes.
60 Minutes,
60
that's
Minutes.
the one, yeah.
Yeah, and Prince Charles was on 60 Minutes being interviewed. And the guy from 60 Minutes asked Prince Charles a question that he didn't like. He was not happy with being asked this particular question. And when this interviewer asked Prince Charles the question he didn't want to hear, Prince Charles looked at him and squinted his eyes and hissed like a snake. He kept hissing at this interviewer
Is that right?
like a snake, and I was shocked, and it was so incredible that Jay Leno had that piece put on his show one night. He was talking about reptile aliens, and he said, and he said, watch this video of Prince Charles, and you tell me what's going on. And he showed and it was a piece from 60 Minutes interview where the interviewer asked Prince Charles something he didn't want to be asked. And instead of answering him, he turned and looked at the interviewer and squinched his eyes down, showing he was very unhappy with being asked this question. And he started hissing loud like a snake. He hissed and hissed at this interviewer, and that was pretty incredible. People in the audience were knocked out. They couldn't believe it. That here is Prince Charles, the epitome of royalty,
Yeah, the heir to the
hissing
throne.
like a snake.
Hey, we've got to dig that clip out. I'm going to go look for it later on after the program.
I've
Wow,
got it. I
you've got
saved it. I got it and I saved it, and I can send it to
Do,
you.
Jordan, send it to me. Yeah.
And I would love for you to watch it and you tell me what's going on.
Do you know what's
When
interesting
you
about
see
that?
Prince Charles hissing like a snake.
I'll definitely watch it. Your old friend and my old friend David Icke, many,
Yep.
many, many years ago, was on a UK television program, and he was in the green room, and the former Prime Minister of the UK, Edward Heath, who was a Satanist and a child murderer. This is true. Edward Heath was a child abuser, and children were murdered when he had finished abusing them. And David met Edward Heath for a brief moment. I'm sure you know this story. And David believes that Edward Heath shapeshifted. Something happened to Heath's eyes when David looked at him that was extraordinary and that was otherworldly. And whatever people might think about David's research and his work, I can tell you that David Icke is not a liar. If David says he saw it, or at least he believes he saw it. And he felt that Heath definitely came across, I don't know, kind of reptilian. Isn't that very interesting?
I think so, because that's what Prince Charles was hissing like a snake. He went out of his way to be very, very obvious of hissing, and he kept hissing at this interviewer on 60 Minutes, and it was an extraordinary experience of people watching with Prince Charles hissing like a snake, and so that's why I think, and I have always believed, and I've said this publicly at lectures. I was on the stage with David when he came to America I got him to speak at a conference, and I was on the same conference, and I was there too. And I said on the stage, it was just David and I sitting together on the stage, and I said, I am totally convinced for myself, according to my own knowledge, I am totally convinced that the world is being run by reptile aliens. I totally believe that. And then I said, I believe that not because David Icke said so, it's because that's what I believed before I ever met David Icke. And I have a reason for believing that. And I've been doing this kind of research all my life, and that's what I believe because I've seen it. I've seen and heard too much that I now know there's something going on the earth that has to do with extraterrestrial life forms who are here, but they're not exactly human.
So he talked to me about was in Colorado, where he went down into granite, and so they're blasting down into granite, and suddenly they came to a cavity that shouldn't have been there. So they went down to explore what was going on, what this cavity was, and it turned out to have in it a UFO and an alien body. Now, this had occurred so long ago that there was actually like quartz that had formed over the ship and the alien's body. This was the first clue that he had that aliens had been here living in the earth for probably millions of years. When we think about being invaded by aliens, forget it. They're already here and they have been here. They've been a part of our life since the beginning. The second time he told me...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, the second time he told me about the alien contact was through the deep underground mountain bases with the Dulce, New Mexico.
Right, the Dulce firefight.
Right, the firefight. And he told me about that, how the men came down. And to me, the number was like 21 people originally went down. Again, they're blasting holes, and suddenly they discover that there's a cavern already there. So they go down and explore what's going on there. And they find lizard aliens, Dracos is what he would call them. So they're big, tall, reptilian-looking. Yeah, they derive one of their happy drugs from us. So when they frighten us and we get the adrenaline going, yeah, that's like a drug to them. But then they eat our blood.
Really?
Yeah, they eat it. Yeah, they want our blood, and they eat our body parts. There was this big giant bat.
Certain ones.
Well, it sounded like the reptilian ones specifically were doing this, and the Greys help them get people. So the Greys help abduct people, usually children. You know, there's 1 million children that disappear every day, every year in the United States. 1 million every year. But we only hear about a couple of. He said there were 7 types of aliens, and out of those, 2 were friendly that actually tried to help us. One of them looks very similar to us. They're a little larger.
Did he say what they were called?
He said they were from the Pleiades.
Oh, the Pleiades.
So the aliens that were from the Pleiades looked more like us and were more friendly to us.
You know that reptilians and Draco, the blood sacrifices, the whole Luciferian thing, the kids being killed and eaten. That humans have been eaten and taken off planet, et cetera, and used for slaves in other colonies, et cetera.
I hate to say that, but that's far worse than what you've just said.
It's far worse.
Yes, far worse.
Far worse, yeah.
And that the whole blood situation is it's unbelievable. And
right.
I don't know how we say that to the public. I don't know how. To me, if we get into that, and I know all about it, okay?
All right.
Far more than you know.
Sure.
All right.
I'm sure.
When we get into that, if we release it, 70–80% of everybody that listens to your program is going to say, you're smoking pot. I don't believe that, and I don't believe anything you people talk about on extraterrestrial. And it's going to kill what disclosure is trying to do. That's my opinion.
But you know the pedophilia is starting to be exposed everywhere. You know that much is coming
Oh,
out.
yeah. But you know the part that I don't want to talk about.
I hear you.
Okay?
Yeah. It saying as much as you said right now is actually great.
Okay?
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because you basically are, anyone who's hearing everything else you say is going to have to come to home with this. And if they want to know more, it's out there. It's more and more, it's out there.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to speak for Bob, but Bob Wood, Dr. Wood, who's worked with me on my book, okay?
Yes.
He's a genius. If we were in the conference room and we were talking and there was a big table there, he would have his fist like this and he would slam that table. I want every GD thing exposed. I want it all
Good
out.
for him. That's lovely to hear.
And I have to say, I'm having a hard time disagreeing with him, but
Well, we can do another interview on that subject so that, you know, this one, it goes out, because I know you really want this information out. You want people to start to wake up, and we don't want to turn them off to any.
we don't want, you just
Crazy
said it,
degree.
we don't want them to be turned off. We don't want them to not believe what's being said, okay?
I know, but
and this,
yeah, it's,
and some, we can get into it partially, but I'm saying, personally don't want to be involved in doing what Bob wants to do. It's too heavy. I think it's gonna really hurt getting more people to get involved in this subject. Okay, they're gonna say that Bill Tompkins is smoking pot. I don't believe one damn word. I don't want to hear about any of this. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about it.
my philosophy on this, which is humans are not protecting themselves. They're not protected. And so if you don't warn them, you're culpable. The next time somebody gets snatched and eaten or taken away, or their child, and I'm more concerned about the children, obviously, than anything else.
That's
You know.
that's it. That's what.
And so that's my statement. My statement is, I care about the children and I want to protect the children. How can you protect a child? You must tell them, you must tell their parents what's happening, what's really going on this planet. And it's about time we humans are able to protect ourselves. There's a lot of New Agers out there who want nothing but to believe that there's ETs, definitely, but they're all hearts and flowers and good guys.
Right. Yes.
And this is such a dangerous thing to put out there, because again, you get humans that will not be able to protect themselves.
That's
and
correct.
also not understand. Some people get the wrong idea about Camelot, but I'm actually in favor of the military. I know it sounds crazy, but I actually understand that we have a lot of military that are putting their lives on the line.
Yes.
In a daily basis to protect humans that have absolutely no idea that they're in danger.
You're right. Absolutely. I agree.
And that's got to change.
Yeah, it's got to change.
Yeah. So, I realize that people have no idea what a brave man you are.
Oh,
You are, I just wanted this statement made on my interview here, that the courage that it takes to actually do what you're doing right now is phenomenal. Really it is. See, I can get away with this because I'm a journalist and I can say anything and people will say, she's crazy, and just not listen. But someone with your stature, with your reputation and your documentation and where you were and where you come from and all of that, this is substantial. I don't think people can ignore you. I don't think they can.
well, I sure hope they don't, because frankly, we need help.
Yeah.
We need everybody involved in this. That's not a lie. We need help.
Yes.
the Navy had been involved with the German facilities in Antarctica and the Draco reptilian facilities in caverns in the Antarctica. And you have Draco reptilian guys running your governments
Right.
of every country on your planet.
Of
I
every
mean,
government. There you go.
wow.
That's quite a statement.
I
Does
mean,
that answer your question?
I'm sorry. It's not what we want to hear. When we got to the moon, we found out a lot of surprises, okay? The Draco reptilians were already there. And we knew because we had probes when we went, non-manned probes that we sent around the moon. So we knew there were facilities on the backside. We knew a whole lot that people didn't talk about. But we were in a position where this moon is not a moon, okay? It's not your moon in the first place. Actually, this is not your planet. This is their laboratory, okay?
Right. Okay, the Dracos, you mean, or the reptilians?
Draco reptilian slash
Okay.
reptilian.
And I'm going to ask you what they all look like and all that, you know, at some point.
Okay,
Because I know. Okay, let's get to when it was. Was it Neil Armstrong landed on the moon, and he said that thing that you heard him say, and Michael wants to get real specific about this. So basically, there were 7 huge craft there, and you said on one of the shows out there, you said that the reptilians actually showed up beneath their craft, and they gave the finger.
okay, they were parked around the side of the,
On the
crater,
yeah.
okay? They were not parked on it, they were
Right.
floating above it.
Okay, yeah.
So there were hundreds of these 9-foot reptilian guys standing with their legs.
Hundreds.
Yeah, they were all the way across underneath their vehicles,
Okay, so
standing
they're
on the
9
crater.
feet, and what do they look like?
They're ugly looking lizard, alligator type people. They
Wow.
got the same skin as the lizards got,
Right.
okay? And terrible looking faces. But then they have the ability to shift and look like a human. All of them do, okay?
Okay, do you think Von Braun was a reptilian?
No,
You really don't?
no.
Okay.
Your president, yes.
Oh, which one? George Bush Sr.? Yes,
Yeah,
sure.
and Bill Clinton and this guy you just got
Obama?
rid of. Yeah,
Yeah,
they all were,
right.
okay? So, and they all have this ability to make themselves look like real good-looking people.
And you're saying Trump isn't one?
No, he's not, okay?
Well, that's a relief.
And and he knows more about this subject than people realize.
Oh,
Okay.
excellent. Join the fight against the reptilians and Dracos that are basically plundering the galaxies, taking over planets, etc. And you've said something very similar to that.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I'm just saying that this is our situation.
And I guess that we should wrap this up. And I want to say thank you
I
very
love
much.
you, love you.
Love you. And
Okay.
thank you for your
Yeah.
service to humanity.
That's how he appeared to me on my doorstep when he said that he'd come down in a craft and he'd been told to come to mine to meet me and give me knowledge.
Yeah.
And he stayed with us for 3 months, and while he was staying with us, I saw him turn into a reptilian 3 different times.
What did you
And
feel about this at the time?
I didn't feel anything. I felt friendly with him. He was really nice. You know, we really gelled together, and he gave me a lot of knowledge. He could read any UFO book that I put in front of him. He knew exactly what was in the book. He didn't have to open it to read it. He could appear and disappear. He only ate green vegetables and sweets. He didn't eat anything else. He started to stay in the house because we had to put you up in
Right,
here.
well, before we go into this, if you go through the rest of the pictures.
Oh, okay. That's David Daniel as a reptilian. That's how he sort of changed.
What was the mechanism in changing? What was it like?
He shook for about 2 minutes. He just absolutely shook before his face started taking over, and then his body. But I didn't actually see his full body, not until the third. Well, then I didn't see his full body. I just saw his face and his arms, his hands and his chest on the third one. People say to me, "Did he have a tail?" But as far as I know, he didn't, because I didn't see the full thing.
So it's sort of a shuddering blur.
Yeah, it sort of shut. When he was going to change, he sort of shook.
And did he do that intentionally?
Well, I guess it's the way he morphomised from being human to being a reptilian. Because when I saw the little ones, and I used to play with the little ones when I was 5, they used to do the same things.
The little.
Sorry, I call them the little ones. No, the little ETs.
Greys.
Yeah, when I used to play with them when I was 5, down in the dell,
Yeah.
they used to do the same thing. They used to shake like jelly, and I used to call them my little jelly friends.
Is that because they were changing shape to humans, or
No, it's because the way they materialised and dematerialised. And it's the same with the little monks down at Rendlesham. They done exactly the same thing. They used to shake, when they materialised in front of us, and then when they dematerialised, they used to sort of shake like that, and there was a glow come off them, and they would just go. It's really hard to explain, but that's the way.
Okay, so more of the of David.
No, only his this what he wore around his neck.
So
He wore
on
it
the
round
left-hand
his neck.
side is David, no?
No, that's nothing to do with David.
Okay, right.
No, that's to do with Ra. But that's when he took me back to my past lives. He done something with that in front of me like that, and he was putting it in front of me and told me to watch it, and I was watching it, and he took me back to some of my past lives.
And what were they? Your past lives?
One was I was a man in Egypt, and I helped to build the pyramids, and I described exactly how I helped to build the pyramids. And one day, years after that, probably in the 90s, I went up to Norwich Museum, and they were doing Egyptian Day. And the funny thing was they had pictures of how the pyramids were built, and that was exactly how I'd explained it. Absolutely exactly. And another one, I was a monk in Peru, or I was a Buddha actually in Peru, and I was looking down, going up to the big palace or wherever it was we were going, up this hill, looking down in a valley, and you could see all the people who were really poor and everything, and they were trying to grow their crops and that. And then another time, I don't know what era I was in, because there was a little boy, and he was pulling an oxen and a cart with all grain and that in it across some cobblestones, and I was standing there watching him in a long grey dress. But I don't know, unless it was Tom Sawyer's Day. I don't know what year that was, or where.
But they were all in a human environment as opposed to an alien environment.
Yeah, they were all in it. Yes, yeah, they were. Yeah, all my past lives. Yeah.